there. So it's Lisa Starr back with another episode of StarCast, again live from a We Work Well event. Last month, you might have listened to our interviews from Sardinia, where we discussed the topic of energy. Here we are at We Work Well in Coconut Point, Florida, and I'm starting the conversation with Patrick Dermott. Patrick is the Vice President of Operations for Trilogy. And Trilogy, as you may know, has 16 facilities, spas across the U.S. Patrick is based in Vegas and oversees 4. And you told me, Patrick, first of all, welcome and thank you for joining.
Thanks for having me.
You told me that your facilities tend to be 18 to 20 treatment rooms each.
Yeah, a little bit bigger in like our Vegas locations, of course, because it's Vegas. You know,
right.
everything's
bigger.
The top, yeah. And then, our kind of sweet spots that, probably 10 rooms to 15 rooms, good size, not overbuilt. So that's kind of our sweet spot, I think.
So you mentioned earlier to me when we were chatting that you were here at We Work Well to look for products and technology. It's going to be the future. So could you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah. It's interesting being in the industry since 2002 when I started, not knowing anything.
Right.
And at that time, there was just this wave prior to where technology and these kind of oversized, almost like football, masks and helmets that were red light underneath that were like,
you look like a space person.
Yeah, like you were an alien or something. But that kind of fell off a little bit for a little while, and it got kind of back to, hands-on connection and really the experience being delivered through providers, right? And, and I feel like more recently it's kind of gone back and where people are really focused on technology. Everybody's seen the massage bed that is ran by AI and all those kind of things. And, but I feel like some of the vendors here, and I think some of the operators are trying to become to create a little balance there, where they're kind of moderating a little bit of the technology to make sure they're able to build that connection with guests, because that's why guests come back to us.
Well,
right?
They want touch, right?
That's the meaningful part. And I know that there was a push during the COVID, coming out of COVID, everybody's trying to find touchless, hands-free, providerless wellness opportunities. And those, I think, are fine for maintenance kind of wellness. Yeah. And I know that we'll find a place where they settle into our facilities as an option for guests. I always lean towards we're in the people business, right?
Right.
That's our differentiator. We're the only business in the world that gets the privilege of taking a guest that we've just met 10 feet away. We grab them from the lounge. They only are wearing a robe and a pair of slippers, right?
Right.
And we walk them, and 20 feet away, we close the door, we ask them to get undressed and get on the table.
And
right?
tell us things about themselves.
Everything about you, right? Or we ask the questions to bring out what we need to know so we can deliver what we do. And
no, that's a great point you make. Not many industries have that
nothing, kind
of immediate
right?
close touch
There's
with
nothing.
guest.
And without that, there is no spot, right? And so, that's more important, I think, than the product, than the equipment, than the amenities that we have in there, the personal touch. That's why people come, and that's why people come back, right?
For sure, but they do want technology too, right?
100%.
I mean, people can't, I think spas got really popular when the media started covering spas and people saw them and they went to Vegas, right? And they went to a spa and they were like, oh, I think, should my spa have 50 treatment rooms and 4 whirlpool baths? And so they came back with all these crazy ideas and spa became popular. And to your point now, since COVID, I mean, we're still waiting for it to slow down, but you can't escape the technology word. And so I think guests want to know, are we using the latest or greatest, or am I getting like the best result I can?
That's the key. I think guests are coming in, they're teeing up their problems, right? We're asking them questions to find out from them what are going to be the best things to help this guest with whatever things that they identify as issues. And for us, the most important thing we do is one, obviously the connection, those kind of things, and to use our professional voice to get them down the right path to results, to correct and address whatever their problems they feel that they have, whether it be, fine lines, wrinkles, all of the things that all of our guests come to us for, but really the result. That's what they want. When they walk out if they're coming to get a skincare treatment, they want to see results. They're impatient, right? We have everything at our fingertips.
We have very short attention spans.
They don't want to wait 12 visits and, $2,000 to get the result they want. They want to see at least progress to that. It doesn't have to be the final result in one service, but they want to see progress to their end goal, right?
So that's the thing with technology now, right? It helps them get to their goals sooner.
I think the right technology does, right? There's things that I think that we've gotten into that are in the spot that I think are, I won't say unfounded because I guess unproven, right? We're not able to make claims.
Right.
There's things like, one of the examples that I always fall back on. I truly believe that there's value in things like, the salt rooms, right? I think it helps people, but as a business, we can't claim any of that.
Right.
We don't get to make a claim about it. We can tell them generally.
Do you say in the description, has been known to help?
Yes. May help. Right? As opposed to something like, a red light bed, right? That there is actual medical, scientifically backed claims that you can make by getting that, right? I feel like that to me is, I think, more substantial than what I would say, or my dad would say, a hope and a prayer. Right. But to be able to not just talk about how nice it is, but to be able to actually show a result or tie it to a result. I think that's super, super important.
So you're looking for equipment, products, whatever, that has some sort of scientific veracity to it.
It has to be results oriented or results driven when it comes to, I think, skincare, right? You've got to have a balance on your menu of services that are relaxation, right? That's one side of wellness, but then there's the other side, which is discoloration, fine lines and wrinkles, all the other things that are physical that everybody can see, right?
Right.
And, I think that, to be able to claim and show proof that XYZ product or XYZ machine or this treatment specifically will help you. And it's a little bit tricky because a lot of technology, there's some things out there that will work with one use and you'll see greater progress as you go along. But there's other technology that is going to take series of services. But it's okay because it's backed by scientific proof and you can claim those things. So I think there's a balance there of things you can say and things you can't. And I always like to go with what we can claim.
So is that your own or a company mandate, or are your consumers asking you for that proof?
I think they've always wanted results oriented. I don't know that they needed to see a paper that says, hey, this is scientifically proven to XYZ. But they had, we hold up a mirror at the end, you know what I mean? And we talk about, here's what I used here. Here's what here's what your skin looks like now. This is what we want it to look like. I think it's not something that we've talked about as a company, but I would like to think that should be something that everybody looks for, right? We're not just a business in an industry that is just this kind of buff and polish business, right? What we do is real. And if we don't back that up with real treatment and real service and be honest and transparent with our consumer, I think it's detrimental to all of us long term because I think it harms our reputation.
Well, 100%. I mean, clients have access to information now with the internet that they didn't have 20 years ago. They see the results. They want that. And we are charging a lot of money, let's face it, for some of what we do. And so for that kind of investment, you want more than just relaxation. You want to walk out feeling like progress has been made towards a goal.
Right. And, access to med spas, non-surgical med spas. I mean, that business has absolutely exploded over, gosh, probably the last 10 years. You had to go to a literally plastic surgeon or a dermatologist office, right? To get those things done. Well, they might be dermatologist offices, but they're marketed as spas, right? So
they got smart and
times
said,
have changed.
People like a relaxing visit.
Yeah, you would rather go to a spa than a doctor?
Yeah,
no way, right?
What a concept.
So it was brilliant on their part. But they're actually, and I think that's part of what's changed what we do, is they actually make claims, medical claims, and people know that they can go and get results there. So why wouldn't that translate? And I'm seeing a lot more skincare companies now. They have invested in scientifically backed things that they can actually claim now, right? They've side by side pictures, before and afters, those kind of things, which is super, super smart, on their behalf, because access from all of our guests it's everywhere now.
Are you able to charge more, Patrick, for services that are like that use technology or result driven than you do for the relaxation?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Without a doubt. I mean, there's certain services out there that we have that are they still kind of fall under, more the med-spa services, specifically, but it doesn't require you to be a doctor to be able to deliver the service. And that's probably one of the highest price facials that we have, in our portfolio.
Okay. Well, we were also chatting about the market in general. And, you asked me if I'm busy, and it's like, yes, all the consultants are so busy since COVID. We keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, and it hasn't happened. And you said you're not seeing that either. I mean, your spas had a record May.
Yeah. May was really strong, but everybody's been talking about it, right?
Right.
And, the talking's getting a little bit louder. I think everybody's really worried about the summer and what that's going to do, as kids are out of school and things like that. And the election's coming up in November and all the things.
Uncertainties.
There is a lot of uncertainty, and it's not much different than 16, and 20, where everybody kind of pumps the brakes a little bit going into an election year. And we're almost through the year, right? It's June. It's mid-June.
Right. It's going to happen already. Before we know it.
It's going to be here. But, we had a really strong May. June looks great through the first, week plus, that we've had. But, I think everybody kind of holds their breath. But the things that we've been hearing haven't matched what we've been seeing in reality. Now, it could in other industries, just in the locations that I'm at, I've not seen that same kind of slowdown.
I feel like there's an awareness now, because if you look back, I mean, we never really did know the future. We just thought things would go on like that, rule about inertia or mass, right? You push something, it keeps going. Of course, we'll grow every month. We saw record growth after COVID in locations that reopened. That has slowed somewhat, but to your point earlier, we're still doing great.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not seeing maybe double digit increases year over year, but they're in the low teens rather than 20. But we realize that we can't predict the future. Imagine that. And so you're always having a little tentativeness in your planning. So from your budgeting perspective, how that? When your management says to you, well, what can you produce for us?
The last few years have been hard because, post-COVID, you get out, we have, as we were opening back up, what we could open, we could only open half of our facilities, right? So we could only really produce half of what we normally could, but we were full the whole time. Even though we could only book half, we were completely full, could not book anybody else. And then we come out of that and it's like, okay, there's a, record setting, July, there's a record setting August, a record setting September, a record setting October, and all the way through. And then, we had 15 months where it was like every month was
a new record.
The best, X month that we've had. And these are businesses that are, one's 20 years old and the other one's 17.
Okay.
Right. So these aren't like,
substantial.
These aren't like new businesses. And to see, double digit growth in businesses that are 16 years old, 20 years old.
It's impressive.
It's just those things don't happen, right? Unless something monumental has changed, right? Because it's in the same place that it was, all the things, so it's interesting. But the last couple of years has been really hard because you see these big growth year after year. And so I made a mistake by I don't think I verbalized, and I don't think I pushed enough to kind of temper expectations a little bit, because you can only keep on that growth
for so long,
trajectory for so long. And you know where your levels were the prior year, and you see where you were in terms of capacity. And, that's what we ran into, was our capacity was starting to run out, right? Where everybody knows what the prime hours are, right? Our prime booking is, 10 to 4. You stretch it out 2 hours, it's 10 to 6. And then you stretch it out, it goes, 9 to 7, and then it's the 8 o'clock hours, 8 o'clock and 7 o'clock hours on the front and back side. So when you start seeing that time of availability shrink, you start to know, okay, our growth is going to slow down, because we no longer have those peak times available to slide people in that where we had availability before, right? It was building this slowly to fill out the time. And now you get to a point where it may not be convenient for the consumers to fill in those hours any longer,
it's
right?
finding that fine line between capacity and demand.
Yeah. Well, and then when you start pushing your capacity, you start sacrificing guest experience. So are you going to build as quickly still? All the things kind of go into it. And so I didn't do a great job of really kind of pushing back on tempering expectations in terms of, our revenues and budget in general. Expenses haven't really changed a whole lot. It's just that top line revenue number and the bottom line revenue number. That's the differences. The other challenge that we've had are these relatively big leaps in just the cost of labor. Our cost of labor I think we've given increases, to our teams the last 2 years. And these aren't small cost of living, increase of 3 or 5%. These were leaps of 10 to 15%.
Wow.
Right?
Why?
Of change.
Why did that happen?
Market correction. When we came out of COVID, it was a dog pile to try to find labor. We furloughed, not everybody furloughed. We furloughed, so we kept people on, but then we had people leaving to go to other locations. Some people didn't come back because they were uncomfortable.
All the things. So crazy after.
And so everybody was correcting the wage, and that, when you're in a competitive area like a Vegas, it doesn't matter if you're on the strip or near the strip. If you're of a reasonable size, you have to be in line, right? We're a little bit smaller company, so our benefits aren't quite as strong as a package. So we've got to do something a little bit different, a little bit unique. So all of those kind of things factor in. So we had to be aggressive, because that team in general, are the team that is our non-provider team, are just equally as important, if not even more important than our provider team, because they are the first person that sees our guest and talks to our guest, and the last person that sees and talks to our guest, right? And if we don't do our part in making sure that experience is fantastic, that's going to carry over in the guest mind into the treatment room, and it's going to affect that experience, whether you want to or not.
No, sure.
And it works both positively. If it's great, it carries over. And if it's not great, it carries over.
Well, and you've got the recency effect, right? The last thing they remember is checking out. And when they get the sticker shock of the bill, maybe that's not how you want to end the visit.
Right.
But of course, we've had a debate for years about if they pay first, they don't buy retail, et cetera. But, back to the issue of forecasting. I guess we just need to get this election over and done with, and then maybe we could have some inkling of what will happen.
Yeah, it's never a perfect science, right? That's what we're doing, is we're looking at historicals, We're looking at our trajectory. We're trying to get any clues that we can about potential impacts. And then you're just making your best general guess, right?
Educated guess.
Educated, yeah. So it's never going to be perfect. And the thing that is always going to throw it into a tailspin is going to be things that are out of our control, right? And different parts of the country are going to feel it at different times,
Right.
So the great thing is we've got 16 plus operations across the country and in Puerto Rico that we get to see the numbers of all of them together and see where everyone's at and see if we're trending up or trending down, what's happening, what's international travel look like now, right? That's a big indicator of what's going to happen. But that's the benefit of having 16 plus locations is being able to spot trends when they come up, hopefully quicker than what they actually occur.
Spread your risk over a wider base as well.
Yeah.
All right.
But, in the end, from a spa director standpoint, what I say to my spa directors, joking with them, but at the same time, hey, what do we do with X? Well, what do you think we should do first? You think that's the right thing to do? And my answer always is they bring a problem to me. I'm like, so what? What are you going to do? What's the best thing that we can do, right? We as spa directors and operators, we're the boots on the ground. We're going to have the best opportunity to adjust on the fly. We're going to have the quickest reaction.
Sure.
If we're waiting for somebody above us to tell us, we're going to miss it.
You could lose weeks.
And you lose weeks. All that work you did before, you just gave it back away, right? There's nothing more frustrating than being able to, when you sit down and you look at your year-end P&L, there's nothing worse than seeing something that sticks out to you.
Yeah, that on you could have avoided.
And you're like, if I would have just listened and thought about that, I would have corrected and it wouldn't have impacted like it did.
Well, it seems like your teams are lucky to have somebody like you who's got boots on the ground too.
Well, look, I have some of the best operators I've been around. They're hard workers. They're just fantastic. So they make me look a lot smarter than really what I am.
I'm sure it goes both ways. Well, thank you, Patrick Dermott, for joining us, Vice President of Operations from Trilogy, and enjoy the rest of the event.
Great. Thanks, Lisa.
Hey, so here at We Work Well, and we're with Lynn Curry. Lynn and I have known each other, I don't know how long. We're both oldsters in the industry. Lynn is the principal of Curry Spa Consulting, and we have both been consultants for, 20, 30 years. Let's not say, right?
A long time.
Suffice it to say. So, Lynn, you work particularly on large-scale casino hotels, resort hotel spas, wellness centers around the world. I wonder if you could share a little bit about what you're seeing in the design trends and the many projects that you're working on without naming names.
Well, it's interesting because when we do these projects, many of them, if they're a hotel in the upscale market, almost all of them have a residential component. So, the biggest trend is for most of these properties is that they've all got residential component, whether it's condos or homes that are included in the entire project development. That said, some of these residential areas want their exclusive spas. So we're seeing development in these residential spas that we do have to design differently.
So let me ask you to elaborate on that. You're saying almost all hotels you're working on now have a residential component.
Almost all the resort hotels in the upper upscale and the luxury markets have a residential component.
And is that U.S. based or international?
International as well.
So this trend is really here to stay as far as wellness real estate.
It is. I mean, I think it's always been around, which is adding residences is a good way for a developer to get an ROI more immediately than if it was just a singular hotel property. But together with the spa and the growth of wellness and the importance of wellness and all the Global Wellness Institute statistics are pointing in this direction. They have been for a long time. People want wellness in their homes, in their residences, on their vacations. And so I think it's becoming more prevalent for us in the spa industry to be thinking about, gosh, these private residences want their own spas. And so we're seeing a lot of that kind of development.
Fascinating. So you say you develop it differently, you create it differently. What's different about a spa that's just for the residents versus a spa for the hotel guest?
Most of the residential components are in very extremely seasonal places. So a lot of these residences don't spend a lot of time there. And a lot of these components maybe have 200 to 300 residences. So you almost think about a 5-star luxury hotel being at peak occupancy during a very short period of time, except it's residences. So they have a lot of other things to do. They're more social with one another because they tend to know one another in these residential components. And they use the spa differently in that many of them get so used to using the spa, they'll just come down and wander past the front desk and just go to their favorite massage room and go see their therapist. So it becomes very family style spa, but the teams still have to service in 5-star luxury.
That's a challenge.
So it's a big challenge. And the other part that's challenging is that, well, first of all, I'm never a proponent of doubling locker rooms, doubling plumbing, doubling any of those things. So sometimes we have to build a component that is maybe a smaller spa segment, but we maybe do more of a bigger thermal area that's more of a collective between resort and residential guests. But the other part is we're seeing these high-end residential developments with branded property names like Ritz-Carlton, St. Regis, and Four Seasons that are building residential properties that do not have a hotel component. So we're seeing, these places need a spa. Those spas are developed differently because they don't have to be as large. And the changing areas and locker rooms don't have to be quite as large because many of them
come down from where they live.
Exactly. Especially if it's an urban environment where you've got people that want to come down. They just have to come down the elevator. It's a little different in a resort environment.
Sure. Well, you mentioned the doubling up thing. So do you mean that when you do the spa with the residents, you sort of attach it to the existing spa, maybe with a different entrance, so they share some amenities?
Sometimes we have to protect the guests from the residents, and sometimes we have to protect the residents from the guests. It's kind of a funny thing because residents freely use these areas. So what we prefer to do is we really prefer to give the residents their own areas so they don't come into the spa changing areas and spa locker rooms and kind of take over and hang out all day. It can sound like a negative, but the residents are a very important component of obviously the financial part of building these properties. So I think that if it was in a perfect world, we would give the residences their own spa areas and share staff between the hotel and the residential component. That way, when there aren't any residences having treatments, at least the hotel can be at full occupancy. And the same thing, the opposite direction. There might be a time where, there are very few residents in-house, but there's a couple that really want their regular massages. Rather than having a full team at the residential spa, you can swipe from the hotel spa. So, there's economies of scale. But we're also seeing that, and this applies to not just residential real estate, but this applies to any time you have a full large spa with a great big gym component, fitness component, and you have a membership, a local membership. That is also very, very tricky. And you just don't want, ideally, your guests and your members to be in the same place. You don't want, to be quite frank, you don't want your sweaty fitness members all coming into your spa locker rooms where a guest has just finished a beautiful, relaxing massage. And then, you might not want to hear the residents all talking to each other.
Like the collision of worlds in the locker room.
It is. And, I still don't even like the word locker room for spas. It's so much more than a locker room. It's the start of an experience. It's like, once you get your robe on, you're going to go and have your treatment and it's the start of feeling relaxed. Well, if a member comes in the locker room and works out and they change their clothes, they're not necessarily going to put a robe on. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like mentally you need them to put that robe on to go and have the relaxing experience. It's just like the signage necessary. It's just like the signage that's really necessary to say robed zone only. This is a robed zone. And if you're just finished your workout and you're high-fiving your buddy because you just won in racquetball, you shouldn't be anywhere near the spa people in their robes.
That's a good way of putting it. So, can you elaborate a little bit about the scaling? That really intrigued me what you said about the seasonality, right? So you're building this thing that will be really full 2 months a year and empty the rest of the time. How do you know how big to make?
We run calculations just like we do for a resort. You never want to, the old term, you never want to build a church for Easter Sunday. Right. But you have to think about the staffing availability. And if you are fortunate enough to be in an area of the world where you have plenty of staff, which can happen, it's getting harder, of course, in our industry today. But if you've got plenty of staff, you don't have to worry too much about the number of treatment spaces. They don't all have to be treatment rooms in a building. They can be, cabanas and, overflow spaces, because usually when people are coming to the area, they're coming in the best seasonality. So usually they can be outside. But you never, ever want to overbuild. There is no sense using too much real estate just to build the space for those peak times. So the key is yield management. Just in a residential area, just the same as in the resort. You've got to yield manage, and you've got to make sure that your staff understands that yielding and that there are encouragements to the residents and the hotel guests to come during those off-peak times.
That's a good way to manage it, sure. Makes a lot of sense. So how about, I like the concept of the spa moving out of the four walls, which we've been talking about for a few years now. It's not just a place. There's different areas in the resort or property where there's wellness, which leads to the advent of the touchless wellness options. Maybe a mat or an infrared sauna or something someone can experience on their own without a therapist. Are you seeing that, or are your projects requesting those kinds of options?
Well, that's a really good point, Lisa, because that is a really important component, obviously, for our resort spas, but it's also a really imperative component for these residential areas, because a lot of these residents get so used to coming in and out of their spa that they feel like it's their own space. And so for them to be able to go into the infrared sauna on their own, to sit on a light bed on their own, to sit in on a vibro chair on their own, it's a really important part. And it's important for them to be able to do that. So yes, that is extremely important. Some of the technology can't be out of doors. But it's imperative that the outdoors are included in some way in all of these spas. And like you said, we've been doing this for so long. We said your spa designs, our spa designs, a lot of spa designs, we've always been incorporating the outdoors because there was just something, we always knew that was an important part of wellness.
Yeah. I didn't know how important it was.
Yeah. And we never had the statistic, I never knew what forest bathing was when I first started consulting. No, it wasn't a thing. Yeah. Yeah. And social communal bathing. I mean, shoot, we've been behind the times with the Europeans, the Asian markets they've been doing it for decades. Yeah. And so now we're on it here in the U.S. market, but those are the things people can do on their own. And that's a really important thing for staffing too. We don't have the luxury of staff right now. And I hope that changes as we get more people interested in our industry and more excitement about our industry with the coming generations. But we need to create things that people can do on their own and be self-guided so that we don't have to have too much staff, or that we can have an attendant or somebody who maybe is wanting to be a therapist can actually handle the guests without losing that guest opportunity.
Right. Get them situated, make it nice, bring them a towel or a cup of water, but not having to administer the service.
Exactly. Even tucking them in with a blanket before they have their meditation, headphones on their lounge chair. It's a really nice touch. And letting them choose their aromatherapy. And there's revenue there. That's a revenue driving opportunity for when your treatment rooms are booked. So that's an important
Well, it's been such an interesting time for us, in the spa that all the things we've been preaching for years are finally the public is interested in that. So great. Thanks for taking time with us, Lynn.
Yeah.
And it's good to see you.
You're welcome, Lisa. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So now we are joined by Derek Hoffman. Derek is the Senior Spa Director at Four Seasons Orlando, but for those of you in the industry know, a senior also oversees other briefs. Derek has been with Four Seasons for 23 years.
Holy moly.
You've been at the Orlando property for 10.
Just at 10.
And Derek, tell us a little bit about the scale of Orlando. How many rooms is the...
Yeah, great. The resort itself is one of our largest in the Four Seasons portfolio. We're at 443 guest rooms, typically managing mid-sized properties, and this is fairly large for us. The spa is large as well. It's 30,000 square feet, 18 treatment rooms. It's got a comprehensive fitness footprint. And really the approach 10 years on and still evolving was integrative, connective wellness. We wanted to hit nutrition and sleep and movement and, of course, spa and salon and all
the bits.
Yeah, still growing. There's still plenty to do.
So how has your demand been?
The demand has been strong right out of the gates. So we took a dip in 2020 just like everybody. Aside from that, we've watched the guest segmentation evolve, but the demand has continued to grow. Mm-hmm. So we started primarily resort guest capture. And that was probably 70-30 to our local audience. We then introduced...
Really? So 70 resort, 30 local.
Yeah, and desperately tried to grow that. In a fairly exclusive corner of Orlando, so not the easiest property to get to by design. But what we've seen over the last 10 years is the local guest segment has grown to supersede resort. And so now a little better than half on the local market, and that's... maturation in the community, perhaps, and just sort of our message resonating across. Since inception, we've introduced residential and membership as well, and membership's been a bottle rocket for us.
Has it?
Yeah.
How does it work, your membership plan?
Our membership is pretty expansive, so we have a private golf club at the resort.
That really helps.
Yeah, that's the membership driver. And then, of course, they have benefits in all the outlets. So, pool and kids for all seasons and restaurants and retail and tennis and spa, of course.
So they get discounts on these things.
That's correct.
And they pay a monthly fee.
And they pay a monthly fee to the club membership itself. That revenue does not hit the spa line, but of course all of their activity does.
Right. And is there an initiation fee as well?
There is, yes. Yeah. Initiation fee and then monthly dues. So that's a pretty standard membership concept. But, what we see is they want our resort to be their club, and that was exactly how we imagined it. So capped out at 300 memberships, which ends up being 800-something members. And
that's a lot.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting watching the rhythm of it. We have something like 18% of these 800 people are some of our biggest spa spenders and most frequent return guests.
That's good to know. So how long did it take that membership program to get legs?
Well, you heard me say 10 years in, and we're still growing it. I would say at this point, growing it incrementally. I would say maybe it took 5 years to really hit our stride with membership.
Okay, good to know. So looking ahead to the rest of 2024, you told me earlier that you're building a new integrative wellness center. So this will add treatment rooms, or how will it work?
Great question. We will actually take down a couple of treatment rooms, so underutilized space. This was really last sale treatment rooms for spa. And what we're hearing from our guests and what we think we can do really well with is repurposing this space for more of a lifestyle concept. You just heard me say residents and members. Resort guests are traveling to us and telling us what they want to see. These are things like cryo chambers, LED beds, infrared saunas, loungers with compression sleeves. So we're really trying to create essentially a white box wellness space where we can phase in therapies, cold plunge and what have you, as it suits us and as the market evolves. And these offerings aren't necessarily brand new, but pairing them all together, we think we have a unique offering in the community where we can do private events. We can do exclusive buyouts for some of our groups and sports teams and celebrities. We think we can do membership, a fun spin on the membership concept. We know that our residents will use this because they're asking for it. And then, of course, we think it's a compelling offering for locals and resorts.
That's really the best of all worlds, right? So you're starting from a warm concept to begin with. You have members, you have good occupancy in Orlando.
Giving us great feedback,
right.
Good demand, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So how many square feet is the Integrated Wellness Center?
This will be just about 1,000. I think it's 1,200 square feet total.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And
indoor, outdoor.
You said flexible, so will it be treatment rooms at all, or just kind of an open space?
No, I imagine that. Open space meaning we don't. It will be designed in, so these integrated therapies incorporated into the design. We want it to look finished and polished and beautiful and everything that it should. But we want to stay flexible enough where, if in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years time, the market evolves, there's an opportunity for us to do something different. That resonates with, I guess we can do that.
That's so important, I think, in design today, because you and I now, having been however many decades in this field, the things we're talking about, like cold plunge or infrared, these weren't things even 10 years ago that anyone knew we would want. And so I think we've learned from COVID, like, okay, we don't know what's coming. How can we be ready? And the way is to be flexible. And yet wellness is a driver for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we've long thought that for our property. This is one of the best messages we have. Our guests respond well to it. You can look on social media and find that all of these trends in wellness, these things that we're talking about, are new to our industry, maybe in the States, but not new healing concepts. Right? So thermal journeys aren't new.
No.
And contrast therapy is not new. But maybe putting them all together in an approachable offering where guests can use it for 2 hours or every morning pre or post workout or as a complimentary upgrade after their spa treatment. And we think that's going to give us just a unique feel. And really we want to try to speak of that from the like I said, the lifestyle top. And this is how people are choosing to travel. This is how people are choosing to spend their time. So our members and residents who by and large live with us. And locals in the community who want to come and spend some time with us and just to give them more things to do.
Well, good for Four Seasons for being on the cutout. I remember when Michael Newcomb did the wellness rooms at the Beverly Hills property, one of the Beverly Hills properties, and that was really a new thing at the time to put weights and workout equipment in a luxury hotel room.
Exactly. Yeah, and so that's it. Just always trying to, we're lassoing the moon on any of this stuff, right? But it's thinking ahead and how are people choosing to spend their time? Really trying to keep our finger on the pulse. What are they asking for? A few of our properties started looking at IV and intramuscular shot therapy, with the right partnerships and the right credentialing. But what else are people doing, and how can we incorporate that into our wellness on that?
Well, you said to me, Derek, that searches for wellness are very high among your guests. I mean, in social media, like you can track that.
Yeah, we definitely have click-through and trackables, but you could also just scroll through any of your favorites, TikToks or Instagrams, and you'll see compression sleeves for the legs, and you'll see cold plunges, huge. And people ask us this all the time. Do you have a cryo chamber? We have that strip mall concept popping up all around us, and we love this. This indicates that there's a demand. And these are, wellness membership models, something like Hamden Stone and Massage. And people will spend a monthly, what have you, to go and do this and make this part and incorporate this into their routine.
You're so right about the strip center, because that attracts people. It lets them know this thing is available in their market. And then certain segment says, well, I want the fancier version, and there you are. I think it's great to have the market sort of warmed up that way. And we do see all these franchises of one-offs, IV drip, cold chamber, whatever, and you'll have it all.
And they're all around you too. And I mean, so a lot of this stuff doesn't just hit you from industry magazines. I'm personally passionate about this as well, so I love it. It's something that I have energy and exuberance for, so it's fun for me too.
Well, it's just interesting to see how this wellness push has just continued, and consumers are not letting up. I mean, we've been preaching to them for years, but they're finally like, oh yeah, okay, maybe I should take care of myself this way. Yeah. I love to see how the market continues to evolve.
Me too. And you're right. We've been around long enough to know that it's come a long way from pamper yourself with indulge in to, oh wow, this really could be part of my daily, weekly, monthly routine. This is good for me.
It is good for them. So are you seeing, like, when you're asked to do budget forecasting, I mean, how do you see the rest of the year shaping up for you?
Yeah, I think it'll, top half of the year or the bottom half of the year finishing probably like the top half started. We're looking at our volume being, slightly down to budget. But average guest spend is slightly up. So that has got us sort of, photo finishing with our budget, which is good. And year over year showing growth. So
have you raised prices? Is that why, or is it actually the spend has increased?
Yeah, I think it's three things. One, we do typically have a modest price increase at the top of the year just to adjust for, cost of goods and inflation. So that's the price increase. We have seen the guests' appetite to spend more and add on and enhance and elongate or buy up into maybe a signature service. Those treatments are more popular than they've been for us. And then, of course, we, like many others, explore dynamic yield, flexible pricing. So we really try to lean into our peak times and, and or steer people who might be otherwise cost sensitive to, maybe some of the track periods for us.
So let's speak to that yield management. Do you do it on a daily basis, or is it like by day, by segment of time?
Yeah, geez, we could have a 45-minute.
No, I know. Maybe we'll have to.
We may just. I look at it daily, but it really doesn't. I don't trigger daily initiatives. I really, to be perfectly honest, mine is more monthly. But every so often, I'll look a week out and start to inspire a new, hour or treatment or period of time.
Well, it's great to hear that enhancements and people are adding on. I'm always counseling my clients to have those options on your menu. Yeah. Like, give the people a base of some services and then ways to customize it.
Yeah. I think sometimes the apprehension is it feels solicitous. It feels like we're trying to sell them more. And it's great for the P&L, but if you can do it, same conversation we always have around retail, right? If it is an extension of your service, or a way for them to amplify or accelerate what they're already trying to achieve. If your therapist can buy into it and have a favorite and can talk meaningfully about it, this thing can sail, and it is not, it doesn't feel gratuitous, if you will.
No, 100%. I mean, we're customizing the service for the guest, and there's a small fee for it, but it's a fraction of the price of services. Let's face it, Four Seasons massage, not inexpensive. So it's less than 10% probably to do an upgrade that gets you what you want. And I think if you position it that way with your staff, it's further customization. It's not selling.
That's precisely it. Personalization.
But that battle continues.
Forever and ever.
All right. Well, it's great chatting with you, Derek. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.